Mm, okay. Okay, y'all. Let's get it. It is 11:49 and we are outside. Welcome to Poetry on the Patio with Pleiades. Obviously, we're actually on the patio this time, which is awesome. So I have until 12:19 to talk because we do 30-minute episodes. And yeah, first of all, I have my notes list on a freaking napkin this time, so we're not doing that much better. But I think from the week of introspection, or, just like relying on time to heal all wounds, or whatever they say, I I think processed internally somehow that it really helps to give yourself the time. Like, I was struggling with hitting my mic every now and then. And that was just first podcast things, rookie mistakes for real. But this is the second podcast. It's Monday the 9th. I just finished editing the first podcast. It's not even like I really edited it. It was more like I watched it. I felt good about it. I was like, okay, let's see what people think. And I'm a yapper. I think I mentioned in the first episode that I speak in run on sentences, and I don't think that I'm incorrect. But here I am talking about how we're on the second podcast now. The pilot has been aired, and right now there's not really like a train of thoughts or like a theme that we're doing. The episodes are just whatever they are, and that's actually similar to what my book is. And last time that we did this podcast, I had mentioned that my book was unfinished and that I had done 23 poems that specific day. And the day after, I actually did 17 poems, and then I only had like, I think, 18 poems left to go after that. And yeah, I spent the next day doing 9 poems, and then the next day I did 9 poems again. Or, yeah, no, maybe 10 poems. Because I started my second book too. And so my first book is called One Thing at a Time, and I'll give that little teaser or spoiler or whatever because it's just the title of the book. And also, it's not published yet, but I do know someone who probably could publish for me, and I'm very privileged, and I'm grateful that I'm privileged enough and I can explain this, that I have support in my community and in my system to get this book published. This is another thing that I wanted to mention about my book being done is now I'm in the process of uploading it online because I have it on my phone because it's just simpler that way. Like literally everything's on my phone right now, and I'm gonna move it to like a Google document so I can have editors look at it and it can be in a publishable respectable format, because currently it's on my notes app. Like I have said, I'm writing on my phone. I could have written on a Google Docs, and honestly, now that I know, I probably will for my second book because that'll save me some time. But I'll still write it on my phone. But on my formatting for my Google Docs, I want it to be publishable, but also easier for my editors because obviously you can't edit on the Notes app. And I have 5 editors that I'm choosing, friends that I've known from junior high, friends that I've known for years, people that are in my family, people that I respect as writers and intellectuals in the community. I'm so grateful to be outside, by the way. So, yeah, we've already gone over a couple of the things that I have listed here. Oh, damn, I didn't even unlock my watch. But oh, and we were making great time. I wonder how I'm gonna yap for the last whatever minutes. It's Monday the 9th. I think I've mentioned that. And today I have a pap smear. We're mentioning it bold and open immediately because we shouldn't be nervous of our bodies and our health and taking care of ourselves. And that's like after this, like after I'm done recording this, I'll work on uploading the first podcast, promoting it, and then I gotta go to my doctor's appointment. And then I come back home, I'll probably start cleaning because I need to renew this energy inside of the house because outside the house, I've got all of this wonderful energy. But most of y'all, or maybe all of y'all, will know based off of my first podcast that I'm working on my first album. And it's like I can't bring my studio outside. I mean, I guess I could, but I won't because of weather. And my electronics are important to me, my instruments are important to me. So I need to renew the energy inside the home, and like I've been so like backed up, like I'm emotionally spiritually constipated, but it's okay. Like here's something. This is a little bit of a tangent, but these are two besties. They don't have names yet. But one is a cordyline red star. That's this one right here. And then we have this Dracana as well. They're buttes. I love how they're like different plants, but they look just like each other because I've got another cordyline inside, and like she's more like open and flowy, and I don't know, she's giving more like open leaf, whereas these are like pointy and sticky, and I don't know. But yeah, I'm suiting them for the outside, but they've been overhydrated these last couple of days because I watered them, and I water them with like rainwater or I just use like bottled water, which feels so extra because I don't even drink bottled water, but my plants are extra. And well, okay, I filter my water. Maybe, things will change. We'll see. But right now, I watered them, and then my dad watered them with the hose water, with the tap water, and then my mom watered them with the tap water, and then the rain watered them. So they were overwatered to heck. And I think that I'm gonna have to bring them inside in the nights because, like, randomly, even though it says that it's not gonna rain, like, it starts raining. And yeah, I think that they'll like that coming inside during the nights. But I'll have to like wash them and like obviously quarantine them from any of my other plants, so like any bugs or diseases or whatever don't get towards them. But also quarantine them from my mom's plants. So like it's hard to figure out because I live with my parents. I don't know if y'all know that. How are we doing on time? Okay. Yeah, it's only been 10 minutes. We're doing great. Um, Guess I should look at the list. Yeah, those best friends, they should get names. Um, oh, and that energy, they have been helping me. I've got also, like I mentioned, plants inside, and they have been helping me, and I like literally like needed them. Maybe I'll explain that today. Maybe I'll explain that another day. So, I mentioned all of that. I mentioned that. Oh yeah, did I mention that I'm not wearing skirts anymore for the podcast because I'm sure y'all can tell like this is point 0.5 and maybe we won't always be on point 0.5 and maybe we won't always be on my phone also because like there's a storage issue. Right now I am at 120 gigabytes out of 128, and I know that the iPhone storage is weird, like you can go above or below or something and like reach a capacity. I don't know. I honestly don't know how it works. Also, I'm grateful that the bugs aren't like assaulting me today or harassing me because usually I have like 5 or 6 flies like flying around me or floating around me, but that's probably because I garden, and when I have the smoke coming out of my garden, you know what I'm talking about. I'm sure most of y'all do. But I think they're attracted to that smell. And I've just been on edibles today, and that honestly like is low key hard for me because like y'all like sobriety is hard, but also when I'm on like edibles, it like encourages me to continue on my creative pursuits. So I don't know, you win some, you lose some, and most people are like, "Oh, weed isn't even that bad," but I got addicted, and I was sober for 5 months, and that's an entire story in itself. Anyway, yeah. Also, I'm like very insecure, and it's funny because me and my sister were talking about this yesterday. We called because she doesn't like very much so live with us. I mean, she does whenever she wants, but she lives wherever she's going to nursing school. And so while we were on the phone, I was talking about how the other day I was wearing this dress that I had gotten from the Goodwill bins, and the dress was $2 because it's like hefty, it's like it's got some weight to it. And then when I had bought it, it was like immediately after my surgery. I had just gotten gum restoration done, and I had gained like 10 pounds. So I was like 164 pounds. I'm like 152 now. I don't know, something like that. But I had gained weight, and like the dress, I don't know, it looks like it would fit me, but I wasn't able to tell. I was like, maybe it would be too small even at like what my body's average is. And so there's like another dress that I have that looks similar to it and like shaped similarly, but I was like, that one's obviously like less extravagant, and I know I'll fit into that one at a lower weight. So anyway, I hadn't touched it since I had bought it, because I did try it on and it didn't fit. And then I had tried it on like a couple days ago. I think it was like Saturday, and it was Saturday morning, and I don't know, the energy was just so weird. Like, life is strange. And yeah, anyway, I woke up and I tried it on for no particular reason, and it fit, and I was like, oh my god, I have to go out. Like, what? This dress is literally amazing. And then I remembered, like, oh, it's a Tootsie dress or Tootsies, I don't know. I look it up and I find out that it's like vintage and they don't make those dresses anymore. And it's such an extravagant dress. And if you follow me on Instagram, or honestly, like wherever, because I'm probably going to post it multiple places. I've only posted on Instagram right now though, but yeah, you can see the dress, and it is beautiful, and it's beautiful on picture, but it's way more extravagant in person. And so yeah, I wore it to Huria Fest, I think it's called. It's a Palestinian benefit show. And yeah, I was so grateful that I wore it, because I don't really know many people in Austin, and I pushed myself to talk to people. And one person that I talked to also came alone, and that was the first person that I really talked to. And then like a bunch of people complimented the dress, and I was like, thank you so much. And I felt really good. But also, again, this is a part of the bigger story, right? Also, the dress is like thousands of dollars. Like, even though I bought it for $2 and it's like vintage, like when it was originally being sold, it was like anywhere from $400 originally to $4,000. And like, these are big dresses, you know. Anyway, besides the point. My point is, my sister and I were talking, and I was telling her like the entire night I felt like I was gonna throw up, because I didn't know anyone, and then once I found people that I met, I was overwhelmed and overstimulated, and I'm autistic, so I felt like I was gonna throw up the entire time. And I told people I'm like pissing and shitting and rolling on the floor and crying and bleeding and just laughing, and I'm being very visceral right now, but no, throwing up. That was the energy my anxiety was giving me from all moments of the day, from like the time that I got there at like 6 to like the time that I had left my friend's house at 1:30 a.m. And Joaquina, if you're watching this right now, then you probably know that like I was anxious the entire time, even when we were hanging out. But it was okay, because it's just human, and that's just general anxiety disorder things. And you know, for the longest time I did not believe I had GAD. I just thought I had like, I don't know, I don't know what I thought. I was like, I have anxiety, that's it. But that is general anxiety disorder. Like, literally, I don't have anxiety about talking to people. I don't have anxiety about like performing. I don't have, oh well, I do, but that's because it's general. Like, I'm just generally anxious, and so every time that I live and exist, I'm like, wow, I wish I had some anxiety medicine. But you know what, maybe it's a blessing in disguise that I'm unmedicated, because I think it adds to the charm. I think it's a compliment to my life and my personality. I think it's like, it's endearing. You know, that's what it is. Oh, see, once we already touched it. Anyway, let's move on. Where is that piece of napkin? Outfit choice. Oh yeah, I gotta be better on notes. That's something I wrote down. Like, why am I using this? And you know, why am I thinking like, oh, there's more room to write? And then after I'm done writing, what am I gonna blow my nose in it? Maybe. That's what's crazy. Like, ugh, please, Plia, do better. Um, I already mentioned that. So I guess we're done mentioning everything that I had the notes for. And this, I guess, is really the last thing I had the notes for. But yeah, I mentioned. Oh no! Oh, I guess that's just dirt. That's fine. I had mentioned in my last podcast that I had three cowboy hats, and two nice ones, and then one that's from Toy Story Jessie. And so, like, maybe mayhaps you have seen this sitting right next to me, but I shall put it on currently because it matches my outfit. And I'm not sure if I'm like wearing this forward or backwards, or if there even is a forward or backwards. But I think it's cute. I think it's a little moment, and for some reason it matches my outfit. But yeah, we have about 15 more minutes, and I just like ran through all of my. Oh my god, and I didn't even. I'll be right back, y'all. God damn. It's funny how I remembered that. Like, it's kind of hilarious because if y'all remember last time, we had some mango juice. Today we have, again, unsponsored Waterloo. But the way that I remember that I needed my silly little drink is because ran through. I ran through my list. And it's funny because when I had picked this out of the fridge, I was like, damn, I'm ran through. And I've been saying this more and more lately, and it's just gonna get more and more true. And what about it? And what about it though? Because is there anything wrong with knowing who you are and what you like? And anyway, I think this is their limited edition flavor. It's orange vanilla, and it is absolutely delicious. Like, I just can't get enough of it. But yeah, I love sparkling water, and I've always loved it. I have not always loved flavored water, but something happened. I don't know. I mean, like, I've always like I dealt with flavored water, like okay, maybe here's what happened. When I was a child, I used to like sparkling water like through and through. And then I would have like an occasional like lemon flavored sparkling water or cherry or something. But then, those tastes were like, that's just like too much for me. And I was a kid. Maybe even like without even knowing, I was like, oh, those are like mature tastes. And then when I started to drink, I stopped drinking almost 2 years ago now. Like in September, it will be 2 years. But when I started to drink, I was like an alcoholic. So I drank way too much for one lifetime in like just a couple of years. And I drank IPAs. I would like a taste. Like, it needs to be flavored if it's going to taste like piss, you know? If you know, you know. Okay. Well, if you guys have any questions for me, feel free to drop them in the comments. Like, I am so down for a conversation and to answer your questions about anything that I've said if you want me to clarify, or anything that I have not said if you just want to know more about me. I love that. So, let's talk more about my first book since I have 10 more minutes with y'all, and I don't know where this podcast is going today. And it's cool because it's literally like a moment in time. Like, that's something that I mentioned about my photo album, or sorry, my album as well, like my music album that I'm creating. Like, it's a photo album actually. Like like how you look back at memories, like you can't change them. I mean, you can. Should you though? I mean, sometimes, but will you always? No. And it is what it is, and you let people enjoy it for what it is. And that's just like the energy that I had for this poetry book. And I've been a poet through and through. Like, I've really struggled with my music, and I've struggled with my writing too, because of multiple experience that I've had with my community or my support system when I was growing up. And we can talk about that later. Today we'll focus on good things and positivity, because this is still the beginning of my podcast, Poetry with Pleiades on the Patio, or Poetry on the Patio with Pleiades. Yeah, that's the one. Poetry on the Patio with Pleiades. And like, it just rolls off the tongue so nicely. Like, it rolls, you know? Um, we in Texas, folks. um, what was I talking about? My album. Okay, so yeah, my book. It's an album, right? It's a photo album in of sorts. And I'm almost like I feel so vulnerable because it's literally like it's a simple concept or what feels like a simple concept, but I just dragged it on, or I mean I don't think like dragged it on is the right word. I think that connotation is kind of like negative, but it started with just an idea, right? And I have this late teacher who was my favorite teacher in the whole wide world. And like I got so lucky to have him for when I was in eighth grade to ninth grade summer school. He was my world geography teacher, and I had him for just like a couple of weeks. And everyone, if you know, you know, Mr. Filson, Richard Filson, what a man. And then I also had him for world history, and he came up to me like my sophomore year, or yeah, no, my freshman year, and before I was about to be a sophomore, he stopped me in my marching band year and was like, well, he said my dead name, right? Because that's what my name was back then. But Pleiades, he was like, I have to tell you something, and I was like, what? He's like, I'm not allowed to tell you this, but you're in my class, and I was like, I'm so excited. And then I was supposed to have him a third year for psychology, but then I did AP Psych, and there was no more room for regular psychology, so that really sucked because just a couple years later he passed. And I've always I always dreamed of getting to visit him and hanging out in his classroom like after school when I'm older, when I'm like more established, or even like after college. But he passed my freshman year of college. And oh, I don't want to cry, but there was one day after school that I had stayed until like 7 p.m. in his classroom, and like what a wonderful human being. Like I was really suffering that day, and we can talk more about that situation too if anyone asks. But basically, the thing that stuck with me through and through every moment, thick and thin with him, he always told me one thing at a time. And I don't know if anyone else got that from him, but I literally like I don't even know if you guys can see it. It's like written on my arm, saying one thing at a time, and I have his name, Richard Filson, on it. Also, I wanted to mention I did my nails. They're green chrome, lime green chrome. It's just crazy because like the lives that Filson has touched is so amazing, and I know that like if anyone's watching this and like their lives have been touched by Richard Filson, like you know, you know. So the book is called One Thing at a Time. And I started it because I was just like one day talking and I was like, I want to write a book. And then before I could even continue the thought, I was like, wait, I have to finish something. And so I wrote the first poem. And then yeah, one thing at a time it just became. And I started like writing more than 25 poems at some point, right? I got a quarter into the book, and then I was like, wait, like there is something that needs to be done, like it needs to be broken up into like chapters or sections. So I decided at that moment that it would be 25 poems in each section, but I didn't know what the sections would be about or what they would mean. And so then it came out to be, the first section was like, I think it's titled Loneliness and Isolation. I was going to call it Loneliness and Solitude, but one of my poems is called Solitude. And also I feel like solitude is more like choosing to be alone, but when you're thinking about loneliness and isolation compared to solitude, isolation gives you more this, oh, do I choose to be alone or do I not, versus solitude, right, where it's like I am alone, and you maybe even want to be alone or maybe you don't, but it's like it's solitude, right? But like loneliness is like a want to be with other people, or maybe you're even okay with the loneliness that you're experiencing and you want to be alone, but that's like the thought of going between relationships, family, friends. You're just in a moment of confusion almost. And then 25 through 50, those poems in that section are artsy fartsy. That's the name of the section. Artsy Fartsy starts with a poem called Art Museum, and I just thought it was such a perfect beginning to the development because while I was writing this book, I had all the themes basically already written, like maybe like 70. And then as I was finishing the book, the rest revealed themselves to me and begged me to write them, just like the rest of the book did. And I'm very grateful for that. And so Artsy Fartsy was, or it started out as like the art museum, but I had known already that I was going to just go into depth with the journey of how art has been for me, how music has been for me, how podcasting or how writing a book has been for me, and like I don't know what it means. It's just a digging into my mind through my art journey. And then the third part, poems 51 through 75, is called introspective something. Oh, introspective intuition, or intuitive introspection. That's what it's called. And intuitive introspection is going more in depth into like all the other topics that I've already touched on, but even more so, it's develops more of a okay, trust yourself, like the journey is meant to unfold the way that it is, so relax and practice and build your muscles and be strong and love each other and love yourself. And it's also a moment for me to like step back and wonder, like, more so what do I think and what do I want people to think that I think. But like, that question, what do I want people to think that I think, it's not like I'm trying to become someone that I'm not, but it's also like what parts am I willing to show people and share, what parts of my shadows do I need to develop so I'm not the type of person to harm others. And so the final part, the fourth part, is called integrated mess. And so it's the continuation of all three of the initial parts, and it goes into a the practice, like almost like a syllabus. I don't know, like it's similar to a list of things that you should do, but also it's like a closing of this first book. So it's more like a breath as well. I kind of remind myself of like yoga or meditation. I think it's funny to say I remind myself of. But yeah, I remind myself of meditation and yoga because that's like what I came from, and like it's a spiritual practice in that moment of writing the book. And so, like I told you, I started my second book already, but currently I'm taking a step back because I'm focusing on podcasting also. Like I want to have this relationship with these people. I mean, it is a relationship, right? Like people are watching this. This is social media, and whoever you are that's like putting your time and energy into this, like I'm so grateful. We have about 2.5 more minutes. But yeah, like if you're here listening, if you have been here since the morning things, if you've been here since before then in my life, like I love you entirely, so dearly. And I will give you guys a little bit more insight. So I'm focusing on the podcasting soon. I will have the energy inside my house developed for the building of my first album. I mean, it's already being produced, but the continuation of it, the finishing of it, right? Every part of the mixing and mastering and the producing, everything. Um, so those are focuses. So the second book will probably be a little bit slower, but I do believe that my second and third book will be established. I don't know. I'm just thinking of words. By the end of the like from a year from my publication of my first book. But I also want to read more poetry, so I'm going into historical poetry, historic poets. Right now I'm reading Victor Hugo, I think is the name, and T.S. Eliot's work. And I'm also going to delve into other writers and modern contemporary writers, poets, and also just like shorter form, longer form, more experimental forms, other forms, structural forms. I think it's going to be really fun to explore and dive deeper into poetry. And yeah, that's just the way that I work in art in general. I like do the same with painting, with chainmail. It's just like I see what I see and then I do what I do, right? Um, and what else? What else? What else? Okay, so the first two poem books are going to be 100 poems each, and then the third poem book is going to be 365 poems. And it's going to be like following a year, or if you don't want to do that, you don't have to do that. I mean, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to write it in less than a year because I like the timer is ticking, like the clock is going, right? Um, And then I'm gonna start writing romance novels, and then eventually, oh, there's a bug on my camera. Eventually, I will, um, probably start writing nonfiction, but I don't know. You know, we'll get there when we get there. And this is just like my goals. Like these are my plans. I just want to share them because I have been brewing, and they're ready to escape. And yeah, last but not least, because that's what we do, and it is 12:19. Um, I am going to say, please, beings, party people, and they mamas. You know what time it is. It's time to say grand rising from your mimis, even if it's the nighttime, wherever you are, and good night if it is. But yeah, we're gonna live our best lives. We're gonna hydrate. We're gonna drink our water. We're gonna love each other. We're gonna hold each other. We're gonna write our poetry. We're gonna write our music. We're gonna work hard. We're gonna make money. We're gonna live healthy. We're gonna brush our teeth. We're gonna eat healthy. We're gonna exercise. We're gonna educate ourselves. We're gonna experience what we need to experience, and I will drink to that. Until next time.